Scantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Thursday, and welcome back to Witch Life. This month we are focusing on the voice, and today we're going to be talking about constructing an argument. If witches can't present a clear line of reasoning for what they believe, how they practice, and the why of it all, then it's time to go back and do some meditation until such time as the person understands what they're doing and why. Logical consistency is important, especially when the day comes and a fellow practitioner is wanting to consult with us, or a new seeker is looking for explanations and guidance. It also matters for ourselves. Without solid spiritual ground, a witch will flounder. Now, thankfully, we can learn how to create an effective argument for our beliefs and practices without having to make an absolute exhibition of ourselves. We can begin with paper and pen or a program on our computers. And then recall the lessons from our school days when our teachers explained the process of brainstorming and then creating an outline from which you could write a paper or give a verbal presentation. And it's this technique that we're going to be focusing on today. It all begins with brainstorming. So whether you're using your computer or you're using paper and pen, just get yourself ready and then think about some of your core beliefs. These could be about anything. It could be about deity, what pagan holidays you celebrate, a theory of how magic works, or how you construct your rituals. Take your pick of anything you believe that you've given really serious thought to and write that down in the middle of your first piece of paper and circle it. And then, and this doesn't have to be in any particular format, write down everything you know about this idea and everything related to it. This isn't about rereading or researching anything. Base it upon what you actually know right now. And when you run out of things to write, set your pen and paper down and leave it alone for at least an hour. Go take a walk, get one of your chores done, watch an episode of your favorite TV show, whatever it is, but do literally anything but think about what you've brainstormed. Just let it rest. Then, after you've gotten a breather, come back and look over what you've written. Can you think of anything else? If so, write it down. And of course, by this time you could have all kinds of scribbling in all sorts of directions on your paper. That's okay. This is not about being organized at this stage. But just think about it. Do you have fewer supporting ideas than what you expected you would have? Write a list of questions you would like to answer on this topic and set those aside for future research. Do you have more supporting ideas than you expected? If needs be, take a second sheet of paper and see if you can expound a bit on what you've already written and just fill in some of those details. Now it's time to write an outline. So let's dust off the cobwebs in our memories from our school days and review what an outline actually consists of. Now, if you're doing this on your computer, this will actually be much easier, but if not, I would recommend taking 5 sheets of paper, and the first sheet of paper you will label Introduction. And at the top of the second, you'll write the Roman numeral 1, which is a capitalized I. The third piece of paper on the top, write the Roman numeral 2, which is a double capitalized I's. Fourth piece of paper, write the Roman numeral for 3, which is a triple pack of capitalized I's. And then on the fifth and final piece of paper, label it Conclusion, and keep these pages on order. Now, if you're on a word processor of some kind, obviously you just do this in order. And what I would do is, we won't get into annotations yet. Okay, so on your introduction page, state what your idea is and the foundation upon which it rests. Then consult your brainstorming page and select the 3 main strongest points that best support your idea. And you're going to assign 1 point per Roman numeral, and you'll write it next to that. So make sure that you get that all done, whether you're on the sheets of paper or you're in your word processor. Then, taking 1 point at a time, make an indentation, whether you're on your word processor under the Roman numeral or if you're doing this handwritten. But under that, write, capital A, make some space, capital B, make some space, capital C. Make sure you have plenty of room in between with which to write, especially if you're doing this on paper. Then next to this A, B, and C, write 3 supporting points for the main point of that particular page. That way you have it all orderly, and you can start seeing how one thing is connecting to another. And then underneath the supporting points, write 1, 2, 3. Make sure you leave space in between, again for writing, and then mention the details that support the subpoints. After you've done this for all 3 pages and your 3 cardinal points, it's time to move on to the conclusion page. On that page, write a summary of why you think your main points, your supporting points, and details support your ultimate conclusion. Now comes the tricky bit. It's time to look for holes and to examine the counter argument for your argument. So carefully look over your outline and the line of reasoning that it presents. Ask yourself if this passes the smell test. If someone presented this information to you in this order and in this way, would you find it convincing or would you not? You may feel the need to flesh things out a bit, so add additional main points, supporting points, and details. Don't rush yourself. Create a solid argument that you would be happy to stand by. But if you find that perhaps your line of reasoning is lacking, well, better you find this out now. Because once you're at this point, it's time to play the devil's advocate. Think about what are the likely points of disagreement and reflect on the foundations of those disagreements and whether or not they would be on solid ground. It may be helpful to ask a trusted friend for their insights during this process. And you might find yourself changing your mind about what you originally thought or evolving in your thinking. And this is a good thing, so don't fight it. Let your reason guide you, not your attachment to your pet theories. And again, it's better you find this out now, quietly, privately, rather than saying, I think this and such, and then someone say, but what about X, Y, and Z, and realizing that you don't have an answer. So once you have a good idea of what the counter-argument might be to your point, it's time to go back to the rough draft of your outline and make sure that you've made a case that can actually stand up to and refute the counter-argument. And I won't sugarcoat this. It's a process that takes time, but it's very rewarding if you do stick with it. You'll be on more solid ground and have a more thorough understanding of the matter. Now, your final outline is probably going to be more detailed than the rough draft, and that's a good thing. It means that you've learned something along the way and hopefully even connected some dots that you hadn't connected before. And at this point, I would suggest putting your outline in a binder just to keep it handy, or even in your book of shadows to refer to it on future occasions. And if you really want to go the extra mile, you can even draft an essay form of your outline and put that in your book of shadows. So that is the basics on how to construct an argument. I hope I've simplified the process for you somewhat. I hope the slides that I've put up help give you a little bit more idea of what it looks like in practice. And I hope it makes it a little less intimidating. I realize that not everyone is particularly taught how to do this, but it really does save you so much intellectual wear and tear if you go through this process as you go through your studies. There's a lot of spiritual benefits to be had from this. And also when you find yourself in conversation with other people, or when you're talking to a new seeker who's just, looking for anything solid to grasp upon, you're in a much better position to be of useful service to them. So I think that is it on this one. Let me know what you think in the comments below, or come see us on Discord at Blackbird's Brew. There's a link to join in the description box below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.